I think we're here. Are we live?
No.
Let's give this a try here. We're live streaming. All right. Oh, we're just working on some technical difficulties. I think we're good. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're like 3 seconds behind.
All right, sounds good. Hey, welcome back to Mental Override, you guys. We're doing another live stream here from the Garage Mahal, the bike sanctuary, where we got all the family and the bikes hanging in the background. So if you saw the post this afternoon, thanks for joining me. I wanted to spend some time and just talk to you guys, like, what's this channel about? What's it all about? Why am I here? What am I doing? And I brought some notes with me. I got a little bit of notes, came a little bit prepared. So I want to just share with you guys what this is all about. So the beginnings of Mental Override. What is Mental Override? Mental Override is your ability to choose an outcome and an action in spite of fear towards something that you want. So it's a lot of times we're overcome by fear in our life, and it's the false expectations appearing real that stop us from having the life that we want to have, from doing the thing that we want to do. And a lot of times I found in my life, fear was stopping me from growth, preventing me from becoming more than I am now. So the question for you is, what are you afraid of? What can we help you with here at Mental Override to overcome your fear and live intentionally? So I just want to start with kind of like, what are my values? I have a master's degree from Royal Roads University. It's a master in arts in leadership. And I took that after I left the military and was able to use my benefits and go back to school for that. And, leadership has its place in just about every organization that there is. And through that, I was able to kind of refine my values. And so I keep my values as CAPS. So it's community, authenticity, peace, and stewardship. So those are my big ones. So first of all, thank you if you're joining. Thanks for coming here. Thanks for being here and checking this out. I wanted to talk about my why. So like, why am I doing this channel? What is this all about? So the whole idea with Mental Override is to overcome fear and live intentionally. Jim Rohn says it really good, is you can have more because you can become more. And for me, this is the actual act of me trying to overcome my fears. You're getting to see it live. You're getting to see me put myself out there and make videos, basically coaching, inspirational videos on how to overcome fear and live intentionally. So I started to ask the 4 questions that I like to ask, and it was, what do I want? And so what I wanted for myself was to become the best version of myself, to answer like my highest calling in life. I spent most of my life as a journeyman carpenter. So I built what we're in right now, luxury garages. I did that. I had my business for 15 years. And then I was in the military for just under 12 years and was injured in a number of ways in the military and have had multiple surgeries since then. So it really changed my life. So I wasn't able to use my brawn for military or for construction, but I was still able to bike. Walking is is really difficult for me, and I struggle. I had my hip replaced, and it went horribly wrong, and I'll have another one to come. But what happened is I started to transition into what am I going to do next? What am I going to do with all the experience I have in life? And throughout my life, I've been able to overcome a number of fears and create an intentional life for myself. So that's what do I want? I just wanted to be fully me. I wanted to fulfill my calling in life, if we wanted to call it that. So why do I want it? Because I think that's what I'm here to do. I think that all the lessons I've learned, and if you haven't figured this out, any lesson that you've learned, anything that you've healed from, anything that you've overcome, you can help others to do the same. You don't need letters behind your name to do that. One of the best arguments I've ever heard was, I'll take the man with the experience over the man with the argument. And I would like to share my experiences on this channel to see if they resonate with you. So I ask, what do I want? Why do I want it? What's my beliefs? What's my inherited beliefs? Well, for me, the fear was I didn't believe that I could do something like this. I didn't believe initially that people would actually want to hear what I have to share, that my opinions or my experiences didn't have a lot of value. And I wanted to challenge that by putting it out there. And so I'm learning to create YouTube shorts. I'm learning to do these lives. I'm learning all of this kind of all at once. And I wanted to show a live, active version of what it's like to overcome your fears. What's my inherited belief? Well, there's a narrative that we tell ourselves. There are things that we inherit what other people say about us. They say either we can't do this, or they question it, or they mock what we're doing. But it's not their life to live, is it? It's yours. So I think my mission, if I wanted to call it a mission for this channel, and that might evolve a little as I move on, but I wrote down, my mission is to call forth the divine in all of us by overcoming fear and living authentically to have a life that's right for each of us. So my mission is basically for you to be your highest self, and for you to live a full life and be the best version of yourself. You're going to have to overcome fear at some point. There's something that's going to be holding you back. And I wanted to transition from those two careers into coaching, into life coaching, into mentoring. And so I've mentored a number of peers, kind of peer-to-peer mentorship. I've hired different coaches throughout my life, different mentors. I've hired business coaches, finance coaches, psychologists, life coaches. And where that landed me was moving into, how do I become a life coach? How do I take the things that I've learned and give that opportunity to other people? So that's this experiment. That's what I'm doing here, creating this channel, putting out the information to see if the way I'm living, the way I see the world resounds or resonates with you. And perhaps I can help you shortcut and overcome the fear that's blocking you in your life so that you can have the life that you want. The life that you want. I really look at life as through the lens of abundance and wealth and success. So what does that mean? There's like this, the concept of manifest destiny. Maybe we'll get into that in a bit. But wealth is an abundance of whatever you intend to have. So what does your wealthy life look like? Well, it's going to look like whatever you intend it to look like. And if you don't have intention in your life, well, then you're probably living someone else's dream. You're probably programmed. You're probably believing what you're being told on television, believing what the Tell Me Vision says, believing the voices in your head that say you're not good enough, you can't do it, that it's too hard for you, you're too old, you're too far gone, it's impossible. Those things that you hear in your head aren't always true. And we need to kind of overcome those fears and those words that we speak to ourselves. So I wanted to practice mental override, put these ideas out there for people so that they can hear it, so that they can hear the experience that I've had, and hopefully that can help you to live the intentional life that you want to have. So where did it start? Part of it started when I left the military and kind of had to reinvent myself. I had to find a new normal. Post my hip surgery, it took me about 2 years to even start walking properly. The damage and the reconstruction that was done there. And so biking had given me just this great opportunity to continually challenge myself and grow strength in that. And that's where biking I really love is there's little micro acts of mental override all the time, where you're challenging yourself, pushing yourself harder, making yourself uncomfortable to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. When we do that, when we do hard experiences, I have a talk on Test Your Mettle, that builds your capacity to overcome fear. So I started with journaling. I've been journaling for about 20 years. I think when I was 18 and I first went to college, I had a mentor there who encouraged me to journal. So I started writing out all my thoughts and all my desires. I even remember writing down, I want to make this much money. I want to get married. I want to have a family. I want to have kids. I want all these things to look that way. And then I was able to start moving towards that because I had intention even back then. And then I started to journal all the podcasts that I was listening to. I started to do all the takeaways and I started a giant list of all the podcasts I was watching to see what wisdom I could gain from them. I read tons of books and I continue to journal today. And so a couple things I wanted to talk about, just some little quick, we'll call it tidbits for you, is I'm a carpenter, so I look at things from, we'll say, a carpenter perspective, or I functioned as a carpenter. I had an occupation as a carpenter, but who I am is not defined necessarily by my vocation. And it was, you don't get to build the house before you pour the foundation. It starts with faith. So creating this channel for me is an act of faith. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I'm trying to create a foundation and do it with some belief. I don't know the end result, but I'm going to keep putting out there coaching videos or information videos to practice becoming a coach. When I did this, the fear began to dissipate. So there was a little bit of fear when I first started making videos that, hey, I want to overcome this fear. And as I made the videos, I realized I am now getting experience and I'm now getting competence. And so when we have something we're afraid of, starting with experiencing it, admitting, being aware of what's actually happening, then testing the waters a bit. And then you start to build confidence. And once you have that confidence, we understand the risks, but the fear is no longer there. So you can walk in your confidence. It's just like, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're mountain biking and you go to a large steep. You're going to assess it. You can understand the risks, but you know you've practiced a bunch of smaller steeps or similar ones, and you're able just to send it knowing that, well, I've done that before. The risk is still there. The feeling of fear is gone, but you're able to apply yourself. You can't outperform your self-image. So whether you think you are or you aren't, you're right. So I had to re-envision who I wanted to become. When we take a look at our character and who we are as a person, the person that we choose to become is what holds space for the life we want to have. I'll give you an example. So what kind of person can be someone who rescues? Can be someone who has heroism? Can someone who can fight fires? Well, a firefighter, because they've practiced, they have the equipment, they have the knowledge, they have the routine that holds space for them to do those things. So in a lot of ways, when we want to have a certain thing in our life, we have to become someone new. If you want to be healthy, you have to be someone who then doesn't just work out once a week. It's like, you can't be like, okay, I'm going to the gym now and now I'm healthy. You have to be also the person who becomes a different eater, who has different eating habits, who has different sleep habits, because all of the way you do one thing is kind of the way you do all things, and they'll all tie together. So you want those things to tie together and become the person who holds space for that. So one of the suggestions I gave was find someone you know who is living the way you want them to live and learn from them. Learn what type of person they had to become to hold space for the life that they have. For example, you win the lottery, but then you lose it right away because you didn't know anything about managing finances. You get a great job opportunity, but you don't know the position well, and you didn't seek advice or experience, and those who have it, and you don't know what to do, and you lose it in that regard. Somebody else. So many things on the internet I find are telling people to do these steps, follow this course, do these things. What I'm proposing on this channel is an inward look. Everyone's life is going to look completely different. There are some fundamental ingredients that you can have every day that I've learned. For example, it's impossible to have self-care. Most people don't even use that word yet, to have self-care without a self-care routine. How are you sleeping? How are you waking up? What are you putting into your body? What are you putting into your mind? What are you speaking? and what are you eating, and what's your outputs? How are you exercising? How are you challenging yourself? So we need this balance of inputs and outputs when we want to become someone else. So you have to live like nobody else. You have to customize your life. And the best way to do that is to reflect and be present. So that's where biking comes in so handy, is that if you're biking all the time, you're doing the act of being present. If you're, say, doing meditation, you're doing the act of learning to be present. And when we're present with something, again, we'll go back to the mountain biking example. If you're going to do a steep, but you're in your head, you're distracted, you're nervous, you're focusing on other things, you might not notice what's available to you to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. You might be overwhelmed or distracted. So that's going to impact you significantly in moving forward. So we have to change our words. We have to change what we speak. I found people, when it comes to wealth, when it comes to health, when it comes to character, there's words that they haven't learned. There's words that they don't speak. I gave the example the other day of someone who says, well, I feel ill, I feel hurt right now. And then they're like, okay, well, what hurts? Well, it's my chest. Well, okay, then it's my heart, and then it's my aorta, and there's a tear there. And so when you realize the accuracy of your words, they can start to change your environment and change your world. So even your speech needs to change. You become a different person. So the videos I want to put out are here to help you change your thoughts, because we can program our subconscious, to change our words so that we're speaking a new language, so that new things can appear and happen and be given to us and to do. And then the best part is to call out the divine. Each of us, I believe, are souls having a human experience. And our souls are here to learn something, you guys. Our souls are here to experience this planet, to experience the highs, the lows, the contrast, the darkest, deepest, saddest things, and the greatest joys. Because without the mountain valley, we don't know the value of the peak. They have to go hand in hand. It's the yin and the yang. Alan Watts does some great talks about this, where without the background, you can't see the foreground of the picture. So they're intertwined and required. So I put a couple other things here. This channel will challenge you and hopefully make you feel uncomfortable, because it's uncomfortable acts, choices that we make, that help us with mental override. It's the active choice of doing something difficult. You hear David Goggins, he's a big one, Jocko Willink, stay hard, discipline equals freedom. All these things are true, but you have to ask, what's the discipline for you? What is the routine? What are the ingredients that you need to incorporate into your day in order to have the life that you want? So what did it cost me? Doing these lives, starting Mental Override, it cost me giving something up. I was a gamer for probably the last 12, 15 years in World of Tanks and World of Warships. I handled Big Trouble if you ever ended up seeing me play. But I ended up deleting over 10 years of investments in World of Tanks and World of Warships, because I wanted to become something new. My Friday nights, my Saturday nights were usually spent, a couple hours of gaming. I had an online veteran community that I was a part of, and we were able to connect. And I just realized that it was taking from me more than it was giving, so I let it go. And as soon as I let that go, I had space to create all of this. I had more space to share, to do what I felt called to do. So a question you may be asking, how did you figure that out? Well, let's just see here. I'm going to take a look at any comments. No comments there. That's all right, guys. I'm just looking at the chat. How did I figure out what I wanted to do? One, I think we all have an innate nature, gifts and talents that are just born into us. I'm not going to be a star basketball player. I've been a high-performing athlete my entire life. I played football and baseball all through elementary, high school, ran in a professional track club, played football, flag football all the way to college, played for the Central Alberta Buccaneers, football. Been a trained mountaineer. Well, thanks to Noah. Trained mountaineer, worked at a high performance driving school, was mountaineering with the military, was a sergeant in the Canadian infantry. So I taught everything from machine guns to mortars to hand grenades to hand-to-hand combat. I was a hand-to-hand combat instructor with the infantry as well. So I have a lot of experience, and you can't improve an idea you haven't tried. And this is something I hadn't tried. I've done all these sorts of things throughout my life, and I was like, I'm going to try this regardless however it goes, and put it out there. And if people start to resonate with me and do the ideas, I want to build that foundation to show people what I'm about, who I'm about, and if they wanted to eventually hire me as a coach, I'd be able to help walk them through those things, because I've been through incredible amount of things, and I believe I have a lot to offer. So how did I find out about myself? The tools I've used. The first one I did, I've seen this used lots, is the Myers-Briggs test. If you haven't done a Myers-Briggs test, it's going to give you a 4-letter word. I'm an ENFJ. ENFJs are the rarest of the population, and I think it's like 2 or 3%, and even less are men. Of that, of the 100% of ENFJs, less than half are male. And so what's an ENFJ? Well, you tell me if this is true. Extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. It's also known as the protagonist, the giver. These individuals are natural leaders who are charismatic, empathetic, and driven to help others make a positive impact. They are socially motivated, big picture thinkers who prioritize harmony and human values, and they prefer to have a plan and organize their lives. Now listen, I get it. This might not be for everyone. Consciously planning your life, putting effort in a direction, a trajectory, a plan isn't for everyone. I get that. Some people are way better thinking on their feet. They can feel things naturally. They can go with the flow. I'm a little bit on the opposite end of the scale. I tend to plan my efforts, plan my motivation, plan the things I'm going to be speaking to myself. And then I plan room for the chaos. I plan for whatever is going to happen to be random. The next one is Sparketype. So Jonathan Fields has a study that came out a couple years ago on what's called spark types. And so your spark type consists of 3 things. There's your spark. There's the thing you do to allow your spark to happen, and your anti-spark. So your spark is what fills your cup at the end of the day. The second one is like your assistant to your spark. It's the things you're willing to do to let you do the things you want to do. And then your anti-spark isn't the thing that you're not good at. It's the thing that drains you the most. So for me, I've got advisor as number 1, sage as number 2, and number 3 is the advocate. So the advisor is driven by the desire to guide others through a process in a supportive, rational way. They use their experience to mentor and act as a sounding board, walking alongside people as they navigate challenges. The sage is primarily driven by the need to teach, awaken insights in others. Their core impulses is to share valuable information, wisdom, and once that knowledge has been transmitted, their job is essentially done. And the advocate, well, that's like someone who's out, say, protesting. It just costs a lot of energy to do. It's not direct, it's not intimate, it's not what I'm looking for when I'm trying to help people. So, what is this not? I'm not here for views. I'm not here for likes. I'm not trying to get a viral video that gets 1,000 or 10,000, 50,000 likes. I want information that connects with people, that connects with their soul, connects with their heart, and actually inspires them to move forward. I'm going for authenticity whenever I can. I think that the idea that the truth will set you free, I think truth comes from authenticity. It's one of my core values. If you can call things out for the way they are, if you see a problem in your life and you feel you should be making a change, there's always that still small whisper inside of you. And I think people can become afraid of that, or they can become numb to that voice that tells you, you need to make this change, you need to give this up, you need to let go of this thing in your life, you need to start working out, you need to start eating better. These are difficult things for people to to accept. And fear, like procrastination, is just the cousin to fear. It is the way we avoid, and avoidance is a master fear in disguise, for sure. What do we want to see in the future? For me, I'm going to keep making these videos. I want to keep seeing the value that it's adding to people. I love when people are commenting below and engaging. It gives me something to respond to. You guys can literally ask me anything. I've been through just about everything you can imagine, whether it's ice climbing, whether it's anything outdoor related. I've been hunting the last few weeks. We've been catching a lot of geese and duck, and then we got open season on big game. So I hope to bring some videos from that. I got one ready to upload from duck hunting, just to kind of show you more ways of testing your mettle, to get that gut check, to see what you're capable of. Like, when's the last time you did a gut check? Comment down below. Comment down something that you did that was really difficult, that stretched you, that tested you. And how did you realize after you felt? You did it, and then you go, man, that was hard. I was afraid of it, but now I have the confidence and the experience, right? It's been the same way with racing the last few years. Every time I go back to, say, Fernie, there's some really severe steeps in there. I now have the experience and the confidence to try and manipulate and attack that course very differently than I did in the past when I was just trying to survive it. So is there something in your life you're just trying to survive? Do we need to attack it, take another approach, change the language we're using around that, create some intention, create some exposure therapy, to do that? Who's this channel for? I put anyone who wants to change what they can control and accept where they're at and who they are, so that they can become the person they're called to be and live the life they want to live. So if you can focus on what you can control. So what does that mean? It means you can't be whining about the political stuff that's going on. You can't be whining about what's happening on the other side of the world. All those things are important, don't get me wrong. They matter, and they matter most to the people who are there or who are involved in it. But there's so much that we can't even control. The things that we can control, I started writing a list of that the other day. I started going through the list of what are all the things I can actually have inputs and change and control of in my life. It's a difficult exercise, and not everyone has the time or the patience to do it. But I can control my inputs. I can control what I put in my mouth and what I put in my mind. I control my actions, my outputs, so I can choose what I eat, choose when I get up, choose how I speak, and more importantly, choose the words I speak in my mind. When we get into kind of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, or talking about how we speak to ourselves, you see, I don't believe that we are our thoughts. I don't believe that we are our feelings. I think we are the observer of those things. So when I say something to myself in my head, that inner monologue, which apparently not a lot of people have, there's someone listening. So if I'm speaking in my head, who's observing those words? I think that's my soul. I think that's your soul. So we're the observer of our thoughts. We're the observer of our feelings. And sometimes we get that mixed up. We think, I am angry. I am afraid. I am nervous. No, I'm aware that I'm nervous. I'm aware that I'm feeling anger. I'm aware that I'm doing these things. And the difference is you can change them. You can change the thoughts in your head, because that's the background programming that runs. That's what you wake up. When I wake up in the morning, I'm listening to Adam radio. And whatever I put in the radio at night, whatever the words you're speaking to yourself, and this isn't mumbo jumbo, you guys, your brain is software. And whatever you're going to put on the software is what's going to get played. So whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. Because that software that says, be afraid, don't do this, you're not worthy, you're scared, that's what's going to play when you encounter difficulty, when you encounter tension, when your character is finally tested. And how is your character tested? Well, I think if you want to be a patient man, you'll be given opportunities for patience. If you want to be a strong man, You'll be given opportunities to work out. If you want someone who knows deep, passionate love, you're going to get experiences of deep, passionate loss because you're going to have the contrasting experience of that depth. So I think that when life throws us troubles and experiences, we each have a unique experience that we need to embrace. We need to see, what is life teaching us? What are we here for? Because everyone's going to encounter these different challenges, and that's going to bring out the best of you when you choose to overcome those things. So, just taking a look here. So I'll take a look at my notes real quick, see if there's anything else. Tell us your experience with starting your own business. Oh, hey, that's a good one, Tanawa. So for me, starting my own business, well, I started as a catch-all carpenter. So I did 4 years of apprenticeship with different groups here in town. So I started out doing foundation work. So I did 2 years of building and cribbing. So that was concrete start to finish basements. After that, I went to commercial framing and flat work, built a couple dairy barns, spent a year building a whole farm, cattle barns there. So I learned a lot about that, worked my way to the foreman there. And then I worked with a small home builder who did custom homes. That experience of starting my business was working for someone else. And then I realized that there were going to be limitations. There's going to be limitations working for someone else. And I had to become an entrepreneur. So I started a sole proprietorship. I got my contracting name, checked out the trademarks at the titles, and then started that business. And I started to drum up business on the side while working for other people until I was able to fully do it on my own. Now, the problem was when I did that is that I didn't specialize. And I'd just been married, so we had a young family. My wife and I, we've been together 15 years and we dated for 2. So we were rocking on that 4-year mark where she wanted to have kids. And so I had hired a life coach, business coach, to help me to make my business better. So the next thing I did is I hired a finance coach. And for an entire year, we tracked all my spending, every nickel and dime. And this is when I started to learn about minimalism. See, it's not what you own, it's what owns you. So I had to cut out, the Tim Hortons runs, had to start making breakfast in the morning, cut out the subscriptions, the TV subscriptions, because this was the cost of starting out. And I know a lot of you young folks, that 18 to 25 range, you got to make some sacrifices. It doesn't mean you can keep living the lattes and start your own business. There is a bit of sowing and grinding and plowing that's difficult. The next step after that, we tracked my spending for a year, realized, I got to make another, we'll call it 25 to $3,000 a month for my wife to stay at home and to raise the kids. So I did that. I basically hired the business coach. He gave me the advice to specialize. And so I started doing fences, decks, and luxury garages, and then more and more towards the luxury garages. They were oversized, in-floor heat, drywall. We did them from the ground up. Security systems, reinforced steel doors, 220 volts everywhere. All the things you can think of like a Superman cave garage. And then when I started doing that and specializing, I started to reap the rewards and make the income that supported the lifestyle that I wanted to have. So I had to become more to have more. I had to become a person who could run a small business. I had to be a person who could do his taxes, who could do write-offs, who could keep invoices, keep a schedule. And all of those experiences coincided with my military. So I was in the reserves and I would take contracts at the time. So I'd go back and forth, and all the leadership training that they had in the military helped me with my business and to grow that. And so that's basically the starting in a nutshell. But I did have kind of a vision of where I was going. I knew what I wanted to have. And so I asked, what kind of person, what kind of habits, routines do I have to do in order to have that lifestyle and have those things? It also meant leaving some relationships. It meant no longer staying up late on the weekends, no longer doing certain activities or parties. Um, Even alcohol, I gave that up a number of years ago because I wanted to pursue this type of work and to be sober minded. Um, I think giving up some of the simple life's pleasures. Um, See, when we make sacrifices, when we do those little things, it's what helps us do the big things. If we can't give up the small choices, and it's really true, guys, like if you can't give up the small choices in life, the big ones are going to be real difficult because what's going to give you the confidence and the courage to overcome fear with big, difficult decisions? It's going to be that habit and routine, the daily habits, the daily routines that have set up your confidence, that have set up your skill and your experience so that you know when to move or how to move through those things. I know life can happen to us. I had a near-death experience about 2 years ago. I was out doing some hunting and I contracted Streptococcus anginius and I got it, so strep A, and I got it in my throat. Maybe it'll deceive, but I've got some scars on my throat there. It started with 3 surgeries, one in my back of my mouth, the second one down my throat, and the third one slitting my throat on both sides with tubes coming out of my neck. In the hospital for nearly 40 days, and then on antibiotics for about 60. So this is a very rapid spreading, mortality rate for in the neck. When I looked it up, was about 1 in 4, so 25% mortality rate. And a friend of mine, his friend's daughter, actually just passed away from it around that same month when people were getting it. So I had a real experience that almost took me out. There was nothing I could do. Life was happening to me. And it really got me in the perspective of tomorrow's no guarantee. This down the road happiness, this when I retire, I'll get to do it. It's not real, guys. Like today has to matter. And when you have a life full of todays that matter, you have months that matter, you have years that matter. And it's hard to have a today that matters without intention. Taking the time to reflect is probably the least I see people doing. I don't see a lot of people stop and go, how was my month? For me, I like to use Sundays. I try and orientate my life with different days of the week for different habits and routines. There are some of the daily ingredients that I like to put in. The morning is my morning workout, the breakfast I eat, the stretching I do. The evening is the hot tub. We got the hot tub in the garage, so it's hot tub and then stretching before bed. I mean, I'm 43 years old, so we got to take care of the body. If you're a mountain biker, if you're any sort of athlete, you realize that this is the only meat suit you get. And whether you take care of it or not, that's going to determine what you're capable of. And I always wanted to be capable of riding my bikes with my kids, so I got the whole family pictures up here in the garage. And so that was a goal of mine. So maintaining my body allows me to have that life. Because a lot of times we have opportunities that come up in life, but if we're not physically fit, if we're not mentally prepared, if we're not physically prepared, we lose that opportunity and we don't get to experience that thing in life. I've listened to a lot of elderly people and like videos on YouTube of their regrets. And a lot of it was the things that they didn't do. I mean, we all make mistakes. That's fine. But learning is about making mistakes. Learning is about trying things and giving ourselves some grace for the things we might not succeed at. But the most regrets are the things you didn't do. So really, again, calling forth the divine in people is just, did you live the life you wanted to live? Did you go all in on yourself? Like, are you really all about, I want the best to see in my partner to come out, or I want the best in myself to come out, I want the best in my kids to come out? It takes a lot of focus and a lot of work. And that isn't to say, oh, here's the heaps and mounds of effort you got to put in. It's just, there is a cost to everything, and the cost is the cost, and you can't change that cost. And I know that your physical fitness, your mental fitness, your financial fitness, your food, your spiritual fitness, if you want to call that, mind, body, soul, all those things need some intention to them to have the life you want. Coming from a background pre-internet, pre-cell phones, Listen, so much is competing for your attention. I made a video of this the other day. So much of the internet is trying to tell you what to think, tell you what to believe about yourself, tell you what you need, what you want. Um, it's telling you what to buy. Have you ever looked around and just asked yourself, what do I need? One of the good questions from the minimalists was, what if you buy something, but when you go to buy that thing, imagine that no one will know that you own it or even see you buy it. What are the things that we own? So a good example to have this channel, to have the life that I wanted to have, I had to get rid of a lot of things. My wife and I had matching crotch rockets. We sold those at 2 Gixxer 750s. We had a race car, a nice Nissan Sentra SER Spec V. It was all done up. Same with, I had a Subaru, a WRX that was, 450 at the wheel, fully built motor. It was a fun car, but it had no longer served me. And when I let go of those things and put my money towards the things that matter, the things that I use on a daily basis, it took a little bit of reflection. I had to ask, can I share this with people? Does it have power over me because I'm afraid to share it? I'm always worried about it breaking if I got to park the car in a special spot. Will I have more with less? When I talk about minimalism, it's not about what you own, it's what owns you, but it's also about having more with less. By removing the clutter, by removing the things from my life, can I have more? Back to one of the videos, just kind of to play off this, I talked about, are there things you need to remove in your life? So to overcome fear or to live intentionally, a lot of times there's blockages. Perhaps it's a person in your life that you just need to leave. Perhaps you're just done with a job because it's not giving you the fulfillment in life that you want. Perhaps it's a course you need to take, or perhaps it's a video you need to make. Each of us, I think, knows in our heart, like what it is that we're afraid to do. I had a unique experience about 8 or 9 months ago, and I was thinking to myself, what if I was to start living my life, waking up and trying every day to do the things that I know I should do, no questions asked. It was just like, you know what, I really think I should probably do that, and just try and take action after action towards the things that I know I should do. It was this concept of just going all in on yourself and just saying to myself, well, I know I should do this. I'm just going to do it. I know I should make that investment. I'm just going to try it. I don't know the outcome, but I know if I do what I've always done, I'm going to get what I've always got. So I had to change that. I'm going to grab a drink of water here. We got the water bottle off the mountain bike. Have some Himalayan salt in here. If you haven't tried Himalayan salt in your water, I was able to reduce my water consumption by 50%. Normally I'd go through 2 bottles on the same ride. Just with this single bottle with a little Himalayan salt, I didn't even finish half of it today, so I better get some more in. But a little hack. Geez, I kind of forgot where we're at. So any questions from the audience there? Thanks again to Nawa for that one. But just staying on here. Now I definitely would like to talk about some bikes moving forward. I do have, I was sponsored this year, so I was riding a Giant Glory in the mullet setup. That's this guy here for racing the Canada Cup this year. And I had a pro deal from We Are One as well. So Dustin Adams had ran in my category a few times, ran into him and reached out to those guys, and they were able to hook me up. And Red Source for Sports in Lacombe, our local shop, he was the one that Don was able to hook me up with the Giant Glory. So much thanks out to you guys. And I was able to spend the summer riding with my family and my kids. My wife downhills. My boys are 9 and 11, and they're able to downhill with us. And it's a phenomenal summer. We spent a lot of time riding in Fernie, especially with their season passes there. So kind of back to Mental Override, the channel. What's it all about? I'm doing an experiment, guys. I am testing myself. I'm doing the thing that I'm afraid of. Going live in front of the world is not necessarily scary. It's just something you haven't done before. And as a carpenter, you want to be able to see the blueprints and see the whole plan before it unfolds. But with something like this, you're learning as you go. And I want to show you that you can learn as you go, that you can experiment with things, and that there's no regrets. I have no regrets trying this, guys. I always wanted to put my message out there and see what people thought and move towards where I'm headed. I am working on some other things in the background, so as I continue to make these videos, hopefully we can launch some of that in the future. But it's not quite done yet, so I want to show people my work and not necessarily talk about it, because I could spend that energy on it instead. But I'll stay on here for about maybe 5 more minutes. We're just about getting towards an hour. But is there any questions from you guys as the audience? Any questions about mental override, overcoming fear, mountain bikes, racing, you name it? Do you do any public speaking? Good question. I haven't done I haven't done any public speaking recently, although I was an instructor in the Canadian Forces. So I was literally teaching all summer on the regular, I guess, public speaking in front of people. That would be anywhere between, a classroom of 20 to groups at in the hundreds, I guess. Oh, thanks, Tony. In the past, I have had experience in public speaking, whether it was at kids camps in the summertime, I guess school, debate class, even when I did my master's in leadership, we had some public speaking. We did a project with, I believe it was the government of BC. We did a project with them, and so we had to do a lot of public speaking in that regard. And the military teaches you how, guys. It does a great job on its leadership, its junior leadership courses, on how to present yourself, how to use diction, how not to swear a million times when you're speaking, which a lot of Army guys would struggle with. That'd be quite interesting. If I was to do public speaking, I think I might use this as the platform. The lives are part of it, but I would want to speak to an audience of young men. Young men and or women, just to inspire them to consider shutting off the cell phone, shutting off the internet, shutting off the games, learning to be present in nature. There's such an advantage when you have situational awareness, when you can see what's going around in your life. You can observe your own body, you can observe nature, you can see the beauty that's there. I don't know how many times you've been walking down the street and someone's like this on their phone and you're like bumping into them because they're just drone walking. It's almost like there should be a law against texting and walking as there is for texting and driving, because even on the bike, you ring the bell, it's like, heads up, wake up, you guys. I've always had, like, if we look at the personality test, the Myers-Briggs and the Spark type, I mean, there are other, I've done Flag Country from Gallup. That was another good one. Understanding yourself and getting to know and trust yourself is one of the key components in deciding what it is you want. Really exploring your feelings. And one of the other ones was like inherited beliefs. A lot of times we have religious beliefs that we've inherited from our parents or our society around us. We have the culturescape beliefs. So we're living in Canada and Alberta. A lot of people work on the rigs. They work hard. They work late. So 60 hours a week, working overtime, saying that I'm busy is like an inherited belief that is normal here. I don't believe in that personally. I think that you should have whatever you intend to have and do what you have to so that you can do what you want to. Those are the kind of the definitive changes. And that's very difficult, I think, for people in Central Alberta. They wear a badge of honor a lot of times of being busy and being overwhelmed and worked. And I get it, man. If you're grinding for something, if you're working hard, that's one way. Another way is to align. Sometimes we have friction because we're doing something. There's a better way. There's a different way. There's a different way to obtain your goals. And for me, it was overcoming or facing some of the biggest fears that I have is what would propel me towards the life that I want to have. For me, my life is different. I'm 43 years old. I'm semi-retired, retired we'll call it. I'm choosing the life that I want to have. I've chose to make investments throughout my life. Something I can talk about is how I've generated a passive income. And it's not day trading or anything like that. It's just basic stuff, guys. It's not rocket surgery. Simple investments over time to create a passive income using dividends. It's something that I help coach young people with when they want to get started, get just a basic portfolio going, so that so they're not working forever. Guys, if you're in your 20s, I wish someone would have screamed at me at the top of their lungs, start investing now. Start investing, one, in yourself, because you get to take that everywhere. And number two, start making some financial investments. I'm not going to tell you what to invest in here. I'm not a financial advisor, but I am someone who has financial freedom because of the way I've invested. So I can speak from experience, and that's where I can speak from. That's where my authority comes in that. So I'm living a life where I've faced a number of injuries, life-threatening diseases, life-threatening injuries, learning to walk again, and the challenges of overcoming those and rebuilding my body all throughout my 30s and my 40s here. So there's been a lot of overcoming and facing challenges. So I can speak from that experience. I'll kind of finish with this, and the question is, who are you? Who is Adam? A lot of people will describe themselves using their vocation. I am a carpenter, I am a soldier, I'm a veteran. And these are all titles. These are just titles that we give ourselves, but I'd like to do it at a different level without using those. I think I'm someone who's deep and passionate about life. I'm someone who is seeking all of the flavors of cereal on the cereal aisle. I'm looking for every flavor of each box to try and experience the most I can out of life. I'm someone who feels passionately, who values authenticity, peace, community. I love community. That's why I have a 12-person table in my backyard and a smoker, is because I try and fill it as many times as I can in the summer. Love to have people over. I'm a father. I love my kids. I love my wife. I think being a dad, having a family, is the greatest thing a person can experience in this life. So I'm always encouraging people to start their families, to have kids. It's a lonely life after 40, guys, if you don't have kids. Your career can only keep you so happy. There's a lot of meaning and value in life with having children. And I think I'm authentic. I've tried to be as honest as possible about my life. I've tried to see things for the truth that they are, even if it means rejection. A lot of times it's easy to be rejected, guys, when you speak the truth, when you start saying how you see things, and not just speaking the truth as in I'm right, you're wrong, but being brutally honest about what you know about yourself. If you know you need to make a change, if you know you need to eat better, if you know you need to be more spiritual, that you need to spend some time meditating, if you know you need to be more loving to your family, your heart will speak to you on that. And a lot of times we're afraid to make those changes. And the internal changes I've had to make to become a different person have been much harder than the external ones. So whether it's doing something in the military, doing something mountain biking, for me, those fears became easier to conquer because I was a physical person, like I'm a physical guy. But the internal ones, where you ask forgiveness, where you go back in time and you look at the trauma in your childhood and you go, man, when did I just start lashing out at people? When did I become upset? When did I become fearful? When did I become a people pleaser? And dealing with those traumas, doing some inner work. My friend Greg over at Results Kill Excuses, he's the man for that. He's helped me through a ton. And he's got a great journaling program too. So Greg, shout out to you at Results Kill Excuses. If you ever want to check out doing some of that inner work, he does lives as well, and they're great. He also had a meditation class that was phenomenal that helped teach me. Those dealing with that inner stuff, the inner trauma, some people call it inner child work. For me, my inner child's Rad-Ad. My dad used to call me Rad. And when I was a kid, I could see the world through an unfiltered lens. A lot of times when we look at the world, we have a lens that we see through, and that lens is a filter of experiences, thoughts, preconditioning, inherited beliefs, that we now see the world as dangerous. We see the world as threatening. We see people as wanting to use us. We see our own accomplishments as insignificant. We see ourselves as insignificant. And a lot of that comes because that's what's programmed. I believe it's the Jesuits had a saying that give me a boy until he's 10, 11, and I'll show you the man. And a lot of psychology will back that up, is that what's programmed in us, these are called schemas, are done at a young age from trauma. So working through that trauma, overcoming that, and for me, the biggest one, to get raw with you, was needing approval. And so I would be a really high achiever in a lot of ways to get approval, whether it was, generally from my parents or my dad. So a lot of times it was, if I could come in first, if I could get straight A's, if I could do that. And so a lot of it was just not feeling accepted for the way I thought, for who I was, for just being a kid the way I was a kid. And I'm not speaking ill against my parents. It wasn't necessarily their fault. They had their own traumas. But it was just that experience that built that in me. So facing that, writing some letters to my mom, my dad, just myself, saying all the things I wish they would have said to me, and then saying it to myself, doing the self-love. Guys, if you've never tried this, saying all the things that you needed to hear as a kid to yourself as an adult, just parenting yourself. And one of the number one reasons I did that is because I wanted to be a dad and parent to my kids as the best dad I could be, unlike any dad I experienced. I wanted to take everything my dad gave to me and build upon that foundation and give it to my children. And anything that's generational trauma, that I'd seen from grandpa to dad to me, I wanted to end that. And one of that was drinking. My dad was an alcoholic. He was in AA. He stopped drinking most of my life. His grandpa drank before him, and I wanted to end that cycle and not have that in my life, not have that generational trauma for my kids. So there's things you can look at. So when overcoming fear, guys, it's not just the mountain biking overcome fear. It's not just jumping off the high dive, the diving board at 7 meters. It's overcoming the fears internally, the ones that are stopping us from having the life that we want. Are you afraid to get rid of your television? Like, what would happen right now if you just unplugged the thing and just got it out of your living room? I did 10 years ago when my kids were born. Literally took the television out of the living room, had the couch there. The same night, my wife and I are sitting down having a conversation, building intimacy, a life change. I'm not worried about what's going on out in the world as much because I'm not focused on it, because energy flows where focus goes. Cheap cliche sayings, but my energy went into my relationship then, and it began to grow. So then we got rid of the couch. We did that this year, and we filled our living room with therapy devices. So we got our roller, our foam roller, our knobbler, our yoga mats, and then we started practicing breath work. We started practicing yoga. We started doing stretch works. Shout out to Keith Weber from Weber Physio here in Red Deer, Alberta. He was on Joe Rogan a while back, and I hired him for a private session. And he was able to help me develop a stretch routine and a physical routine for my injuries, custom to me, something I can do every day to build my body better so I can start doing the things I want to do. My goal, in hopefully within 2 years, is to hike a mountain again. I've been able to get, kind of that 500 meters and my body's shot, but I've been looking at these hyper shells. And we'll pick one of those up and try and overcome the fear that way and see what we can do. But to bring it back again, guys, mental override, it's that conscious effort where you feel it in your heart that I'm afraid of something. It's happening right now. I physically can feel the fear and going, okay, I'm going to choose to do what I know I can do, to choose actions that you have control over, and then have faith towards that outcome. Then you can learn whether you were right, you're wrong, whether you need to test and adjust. Something we learn in the military all the time for shooting is test and adjust. Learn from experience in those who have it. And then when it doesn't work out, when we have failure, I've had to redefine failure, guys. So failure for me is doing something that doesn't work, hoping for a different result. It's like, well, I tried this once, it didn't work. Well, I tried it again, it didn't work. I tried it the same way, and I know it's not going to work. So I think that's an abject failure. But it's not a failure when you continue to try something and test and adjust, because that's how you can find the right way. So whether it's your morning routine, like so many of these channels, there's a lot of advice on the internet of what a morning routine should look like. I think you need to develop your own. I think you need to be reflecting, be aware, and say, what is the ideal morning routine? What's going to get me to have the life I want? And in order to have the life you want, first you got to get rid of everything you don't. The second thing is you got to have some goals. You got to know what you're aiming for. It's really easy to hit a big target. If you're like, I'm just going biking today, that's one thing. If you're like, I'm hitting the double black Canada Cup run on Fernie today, that's a very specific goal. Jordan Peterson talks about this, getting specific with your goals. So that's one of my challenges to you as well. In mental override is like, what are you aiming for? What do you want to have in your life? Because once you figure that out, then you're going to have a better idea of what direction to go. You know, you could be in the middle of the ocean paddling as hard as you want, saying, look at all the effort I'm giving, but then what direction are you going in? So a lot of people will reward themselves for effort, but not for direction. And direction is just as important as effort. So we've just hit about an hour here. So I hope this has been useful to you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for those of you who have stayed tuned for the whole thing here. I'm just going to check the comments, see if there's any more going on, see if I can even find where the comments are. They kind of pop up on the side. Still learning how to use this here. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. So thanks, Tonawa Motors and Racing, I assume. I know who you are, brother. Slide that back. At least I'm getting to learn how. I guess that hour did fly by. So if you guys like this, let me know. Some of you may watch this after. I put out kind of an early notice to let you guys know when it was going to be on. And I'm hoping to do more of these moving forward, you know, not on a schedule per se, but hunting season, November is going to be a banger, guys. We got 4 deer tags to fill. So hopefully we can bring you some videos from the field where I test my mettle, guys. It's not easy work being out there. Last year was 21 days before I got my my buck, and it was 21 days straight, but he was a banger and a big one. So good luck to everyone who's out hunting this year, who's doing that. Good luck to everyone who's got a tag to fill. And if you need some advice on hunting, hit me up. Yeah, give me some questions. I got a pretty good rack of deer up there that we could show you guys one day when I figure out how to use this a bit better. But thanks you all for tuning in. This was a challenge for me. This was my way of showing I'm doing mental override. I'm doing something I've never done. I'm overcoming my fears. I'm going public. I'm putting my ideas on the internet. Some of them are bangers. Some of them like get no views. It doesn't matter. I'm just putting it out there. And if you feel like what I'm doing resounds with you, if you feel like this message can help and inspire you, get in contact with me. Email is on the page. It's mental-override@hotmail.com. We'll have a new email coming soon, hopefully after Christmas here. That's all in the background works. And then we'll have better ways to get in contact with me so I can help you overcome fear and live intentionally. Yeah, testing my mettle. Absolutely. Seeing what I'm made of. This is a gut check. Seeing if I'm prepared. See if I'm ready to be coaching people. And I think if you see these videos and you're inspired by what I'm saying, you'd agree. And that's what this is for. So I'll just keep trying to add value to your lives and share with you, because community, people, authenticity, these are my values, guys. And doing this fills my cup. So thanks again, and we'll see you soon.